Jimmy. Today's day 339. Day 339 of reading. Today, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We are currently on page 717. Let's go. We are nearing the end. You take this, he muttered to her. It should have been Cedric's. He got there first. You take it. But she backed away from him. Oh no, it's yours, dear. I couldn't. You keep it. Harry returned to Gryffindor Tower the following evening. From what Hermione and Ron told him, Dumbledore had spoken to the school that morning at breakfast. He had merely requested that they leave Harry alone, that nobody ask him questions or badger him to tell the story of what happened in the maze. Most people, he noticed, were skirting him in the corridors, avoiding his eyes. Some whispered behind their hands as he passed. He guessed that many of them had believed Rita Skeeter's article about how disturbed and probably dangerous as he was. Perhaps they were formulating their own theories about how Cedric had died. He found he didn't care very much. He liked it best when he was with Ron and Hermione and they were talking about other things or else letting him sit in silence while they played chess. He felt as though all three of them had reached an understanding they didn't need to put into words. That each was waiting for some sign, some word about what was going on outside Hogwarts, and that it was useless to speculate about what might be coming until they knew anything for certain. The only time they touched upon the subject was when Ron told Harry about a meeting Mrs. Weasley had with Dumbledore before going home. She went to ask him if he could come straight to us this summer, he said, but he wants you to go back to the Dursleys at least at first. Why? Said Harry. She said Dumbledore's got his reasons, said Ron, shaking his head darkly. I suppose we've got to trust him, haven't we? The only person apart from Ron and Hermione that Harry felt able to talk to was Hagrid. As there was no longer a defense against the dark arts teacher, they had those lessons free. They used the one on Thursday afternoon to go down and visit Hagrid in his cabin. It was a bright and sunny day. Fang bounded out of the open door as they approached, barking and wagging his tail madly. Who's that? Called Hagrid, coming to the door. Harry! He strode out to meet them, pulled Harry into a one-armed hug, ruffled his hair, and said, Good to see ya, mate. Good to see ya. They saw two bucket-sized cups and saucers on the wood table in front of the fireplace when they entered Hagrid's cabin. Been having a cuppa with Olympie, Hagrid said. She's just left. Who? Said Ron curiously. Madame Maxime, of course, said Hagrid. You two made up, have you? Said Ron. Dunno what you're talking about, said Hagrid airily, fetching more cups from the dresser. When he had made tea and offered around a plate of doughy cookies, he leaned back in his chair and surveyed Harry closely through his beetle black eyes. You all right? He said gruffly. Yeah, said Harry. No, you're not, said Hagrid. Course you're not, but you will be. Harry said nothing. Knew he was going to come back, said Hagrid, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione looked up at him, shocked. Known it for years, Harry. Knew he was out there, biding his time. It had to happen. Well, now it has, and we'll just have to go on with it. We'll fight. Might be able to stop him before he gets a good hold. That's Dumbledore's plan, anyway. Great man, Dumbledore. As long as we got him, I'm not too worried. Hagrid raised his bushy eyebrows at the disbelieving expression on their faces. No good sitting and worrying about it, he said. What's coming will come, and we'll meet it when it does. Dumbledore told me what you did, Harry. Hagrid's chest swelled as he looked at Harry. You did it as much as your father would have done, and I can give you no higher praise than that. Harry smiled back at him. It was the first time he'd smiled in days. What's Dumbledore asked you to do, Hagrid? He asked. He sent Professor McGonagall to ask you and Madame Maxime to meet him that night. Got a little job for me over the summer, said Hagrid. Secret, though. I'm not supposed to talk about it. No, not even to you lot. Olympie, Madame Maxime, to you, might be coming with me. I think she will. Think I got her persuaded. Is it to do with Voldemort? Hagrid flinched at the sound of the name. Might be, he said evasively. Now, who'd like to come and visit the last skirt with me? I was joking, he added hastily, seeing the looks on their faces. It was with a heavy heart that Harry packed his trunk up in his dormitory on the night before his return to Privet Drive. He was dreading the leaving feast, which was usually a cause for celebration, when the winner of the Inter-House Championship would be announced. He had avoided being in the Great Hall when it was full ever since he had left the hospital wing, preferring to eat when it was nearly empty to avoid the stares of his fellow students. When he ran and Hermione entered the hall, he saw at once that the usual decorations were missing. The Great Hall was normally decorated with the winning house's color for the leaving feast. Tonight, however, there were black drapes on the wall behind the teacher's table. Harry knew instantly that they were there as a mark of respect to Cedric. The real Mad-Eye Moody was at his staff table now, his wooden leg and his magical eye back in place. He was extremely twitchy, jumping every time someone spoke to him. Harry couldn't blame him. Moody's fear of attack was bound to have increased by his 10 months imprisonment in his own trunk. Professor Karkaroff's chair was empty. Harry wondered as he sat down with the other Gryffindors where Karkaroff was now and whether Voldemort had caught up with him. Madame Maxime was still there. She was sitting next to Hagrid. They were talking quietly together. Further along the table, sitting next to Professor McGonagall, was Snape. His eyes lingered on Harry for a moment as Harry looked at him. His expression was difficult to read. He looked as sour and unpleasant as ever. Harry continued to watch him, long after Snape had looked away. What was it that Snape had done on Dumbledore's orders the night that Voldemort had returned, and why? Why was Dumbledore so convinced that Snape was truly on their side? He had been their spy. Dumbledore had said so in the Pensieve. Snape had turned spy against Voldemort, at great personal risk. Was that the job he had taken up again? Had he made contact with the Death Eaters, perhaps, pretending like he had never really gone over to Dumbledore, that he had been, like Voldemort himself, biding his time? Harry's musings were ended by Professor Dumbledore, who had stood up at the staff table. The Great Hall, which in any case had been less noisy than it usually was at the leaving feast, became very quiet. The end, said Dumbledore, looking around at them of another year. He paused, and his eyes fell upon the Hufflepuff table. Theirs had been the most subdued table before he had gotten to his feet, and theirs were still the saddest and palest faces in the hall. There is much that I would like to say to you all tonight, said Dumbledore, but I must first acknowledge the loss of a very fine person who should be sitting here. He gestured toward the Hufflepuffs, enjoying our feast with us. I would like you all, please, to stand and raise your glasses to Cedric Diggory. They did it, all of them. The benches scraped as everyone in the hall stood and raised their goblets and echoed in one loud, low, rumbling voice, Cedric Diggory. Harry caught a glimpse of Cho through the crowd. There were tears pouring silently down her face. He looked down at the table as they all sat down again. Cedric was a person who exemplified many of the qualities that distinguish Hufflepuff House. Dumbledore continued. He was a, thank you everyone, that's all for today. Bye, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be page 722. 6 out of bookmark, close. Peace out.